engender some sort of resentment from some folks. I don't know why. But anyway, so just to set things up, that's where I come from, and I hope you're going to call in. Let me know how you feel about the different topics that we're going to discuss today. The number, as always, is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. You can call or text that number. If you're on the Facebook page, on the Patti Vasquez, Driving Home with Patti Vasquez page or WCPT page, hello. I believe I'm running there. There should be video going, as well as on the YouTube page. And folks, I just got a new haircut, so please be kind. I'm still breaking it in. It takes a little while for the haircut to get the hair to get where you want it when you just get a haircut. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, first off, I do know I have a guest that's going to come on at the bottom of the hour. That's going to be at the bottom of the hour. But before then, I'm going to leave these phone lines open to you if you want to call in and talk about any of the things that have happened in this past year. What has happened in 2024 that affected you? What were the stories? What were the things that meant the most to you? And I wanted to talk about a few things too. Of course, this week we had the passing of President Jimmy Carter. President Jimmy Carter, who had, I would say, kind of a controversial administration. Because why? He would prove out to be actually one of the most progressive presidents in recent history. Jimmy Carter being actually one of the most Christian, I would say, holy presidents in our recent history, and was not appreciated as such back then. And then let's see, and I'm pulling right now, when I was prepping this morning for the show, I thought, hey, what are some of the things? Because, we have this recency bias when things happen in a year, and we tend to forget about the stuff that happened like in January and February and March. We need to, sometimes have to go back into the archives of the Wayback Machine and then look at what actually happened in 2024. MSNBC actually did that job for me today with in a column by Clarissa Jan Lim, the 8 major political storylines from 2024, in case you'd forgotten. Story number 1, Trump becomes the first former president convicted of felony crimes. I think a lot of folks want to forget that, but the truth is that Donald Trump is a convicted felon. The whole bit about and this has nothing to do with the January 6 hearings. This has everything to do with what he did as a private businessman. He was found guilty in a court of law, and even as president, he can't do anything about that. It's gonna stay. As a president, he can't just go in and say, "Make me a non-convict anymore." So that's the first thing. Of course, related to that was the Supreme Court ruling on presidential immunity. The bit about President Trump not being he's unable to be held liable for actions that he did in his capacity as the president, which Joe Biden would say at the time was a terrible disservice to the people of this nation. And then as a consequence of that, both federal criminal cases having to do, again, with the January 6th insurrection were dismissed. The most consequential debate in modern history between Biden and Trump, which pretty much got everyone thinking, oh boy, the Democrats are in trouble, causing President Biden to ultimately step aside to allow Kamala Harris to become the Democratic nominee for president of the United States in the Democratic Party. Have we forgotten about that? I know I didn't. That was tough. That was probably one of the, again, when it comes to how media influences our decisions, our perceptions, that particular debate played a tremendous part in how people viewed the Biden presidency and President Biden himself. Another thing that happened that was consequential and really influenced perception in the media was the assassination attempt of President Trump. Remember, in Pennsylvania, he a young man up on the roof of a storage unit nearby took shots at Donald Trump, missing him, but unfortunately hitting some people in the crowd, and causing a lot of controversy, not only with, again, the most recent assassination attempt of a president. I mean, he was a former president, but I mean, Donald Trump was both the presidential candidate and a former president. The last time we saw that was Ronald Reagan. And so we get to revisit that sort of anxiety within the public consciousness to that. And, of course, the controversy surrounding the Secret Service and all this dumping on the Secret Service by Congress. I remember watching those hearings and really thinking of those congressional members who were on that committee who were pretty much taking apart the director of the Secret Service. To all of you, I say shame on you. Shame on you. That a lot of the questioning, and there was so much grandstanding that was just done for political points, not really having to do anything with getting to the bottom of what was causing the problem. How there were cracks in the security that were surrounding the Trump campaign. I mean, here's the thing. There could have been a million things that the Trump campaign was doing wrong that caused these particular issues, right? But there's no way the Secret Service is going to tell you that. There's no way the Secret Service is going to come out and say, the reason this happened is because the candidate did this, or the candidate's campaign did this. Why? Because the Secret Service are bound by duty to do the job and not question the procedures of the candidate. And so the bus throwing, how the Secret Service director was thrown under the bus by these congressional people, just was a shame, a total shame. And is it just me? I mean, everyone kept saying that his ear got nicked or hit. A week later, his ear looked perfectly fine. The dude had a huge bandage on his ear for a while, and then he's showing up at rallies and on television, and there's nothing. I'm serious. I'm sorry. I am not a conspiracy theorist, but there's something hanky about that whole thing with his ear. And you know what? No one questioned it after that. No one's ever asked about it. It's the only time you see anybody questioning it is on social media. Speaking of social media, the moment the Harris campaign started, we had the memes. The Kamala Harris memes started off with Charlie XCX, saying that Kamala is brat. And wow, did we get caught up in that whole fever, didn't we? Didn't we get caught up in the furor of this whole, we're enthused about this particular candidate. There's enthusiasm surrounding the Democratic, now the Democratic nominee, an enthusiasm that apparently was lacking under Joe Biden. Boy, did we get sold a bill of goods when it came to that. Then bringing in Elon Musk. Elon Musk, as the Trump campaign was running out of money, Elon Musk interjects himself and starts giving massive amounts of money to the Trump campaign to keep him going, and pretty much buying himself a position in the administration, whether it's not necessarily a secretary of anything, but Musk went out ahead and just created a whole new job for the guy. The Matt Gaetz Attorney General debacle was also something that finally came to an end. I don't know, did any of you read the ethics committee report that was finally released? Good golly. And the thing with Matt Gaetz, for the most part, and I've kind of said this in the past, and I'll be frank. Matt Gaetz himself is probably an unsavory kind of dude, not the best kind of, personality. And he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. He definitely rubbed a lot of folks on the Democratic side the wrong way. But he also was an instigator and angered a lot of folks on the conservative side. He did not make any fans during the nomination process of the last Speaker of the House before Speaker Johnson, Kevin McCarthy. The thing is, it's McCarthy. I keep thinking of the bad McCarthy. Not that this current McCarthy was a great McCarthy, but still, I remember a fist fight literally breaking out on the floor of the House of Representatives because Matt Gaetz said something to one of his Republican, fellow Republican representatives, and boy, that guy knew how to push people's hot buttons. So of course, when these ethics questions are going around, and this really juicy sort of details and sordid behavior is being recorded for once in congressional record. I know that there were folks on the Republican side who wanted to see that report go out, and it was. And I don't have a problem with Matt Gaetz, doing drugs. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with him even paying for sex, as long as they're legal, sort of legal age, not underage. But sex workers, sex work is work. But I would say, don't make it, because we know there's a lot of other stuff that goes on in DC that the older folks don't want to talk about. I've got more stories, and I've got a guest at the bottom of the hour, but I've got to take a break here. So this is Elliott Serrano sitting in for Patti Vasquez on Driving It Home, WCPT 820 AM.
Stephanie Miller.
It's another true Stephanie Miller Show story, Chris LaVoy. Yeah, from with Jane in St. Charles, Illinois. It's real. Stephanie Miller fans are everywhere. We're meeting in parking lots. It happened just yesterday. I got to my car after leaving the grocery store. There was a woman loading her groceries in the car. She had a radio on to WCPT 820 Progressive Radio. I couldn't resist. I said, I think we would qualify to say that we listen to the Stephanie Miller Show. We both laughed and said, yes, we would. I love it.
Stephanie Miller, weekday mornings 8 to 11 on WCPT 820.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
We're driving it home with special guest, host Elliott Serrano, occasional fill-in guest host for Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, a.k.a. the chief geek officer for the Patti Vasquez Show and Chicago's King of Geeks. By the way, I just want to say this real quick because TikTok, unless something happens at the last minute, TikTok is going to be banned in the United States in the middle of next month. I got on TikTok earlier this year just to try out the platform to see how it works, and I find that the algorithm is incredibly reactive, and I swear TikTok knows that it's going to get banned, and I have been blowing up on TikTok. I mean, blowing up. I have done like 3 posts so far that have gone viral on TikTok that I can't believe. So if you follow me on TikTok at King of Geeks Chicago, you're going to see my latest post, which man, has it hit a nerve. And we're talking overnight. I think I posted it last night before I went to bed. And this morning, it's gone bananas. So check that out and let me know what you think. I forgot to say this when I first came on air, but I should have given a big shout out to Minocqua Brewing Company, one of the sponsors of Driving Home with Patti Vasquez, as well as Kids Above All. Organization that does great things for youth in need. All right, so I'm getting a little tired of listening to myself ramble here. I know, I've got a caller. Excellent. All the way from the wonderful mile-high city of Denver, Colorado, is Cynthia. Cynthia, how are you? Thanks for calling Driving It Home.
Hi, this is one of my favorite on-air shows, so thank you for providing this therapy as the year ends.
This is as much therapy for me as it is for you, so thank you.
Yeah. Listen, you had mentioned something about, everybody getting along and making everything available for all to share and prosper from. And I just really want to say, until this country digs deep into the roots of how we became a country, i.e. slavery, and how the programs that we benefit from were designed to oppress and leave out folks. Right now, we are coming into 2025 with a hateful group of folks. These folks mean business. They don't want peace and prosperity for everyone. They want oppression, and I don't know why it's so hard for people to understand that. I'm a black woman, and I call Patty all the time. I think they're getting sick of me, but I really feel like we're close. The younger generation, I'm 66. I think the people 40 and below will get it right because they see everybody as inclusive. They've grown up that way. And they're going to have to revisit and redesign all of government functions to be more inclusive. And I think that's a good thing. But I had to call you and say this because, it's the bottom truth. If you don't get to the root of why things are and how it became, it's never going to be, a happy place. You got people that won't even say Trump is a convicted felon. They think until he's sentenced, he's not a convicted felon. So there's a tremendous amount of ignorance, in this country. We've got to learn how to reconcile our data, how we get information. And I had called last week and suggested that the Democrats are going to need to do a department of lie verification daily.
That was something that the Biden administration tried to do as far as social media went. They wanted to come up with a department to actually vet information as it's being distributed on social media, and it got a lot of criticism for that. It's like the whole, how does the government think it's the one that are the arbiters of truth, right?
Well, no. What I would think is that they would provide resources and links to disprove what is being presented.
Right.
And so there's a record. And I would also like our talk show host to, be more forceful in why don't we say the convicted felon president of the United States? I never heard that during the debates. I never heard it being referenced. It was like he was a normal man. Of course he's going to run over people.
No,
laws.
No, you're absolutely right. There was a lot of grace being given to the Trump campaign, especially when they were running roughshod on everybody. And you bring up a lot of great points, Cynthia. I really do appreciate that. I'm coming up against another break, so I want to thank you so much for calling in. I hope the weather's great down there, and thank you so much. I hope you have a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So before we go, I know the caller on the line, I've got a hard break here, so I'm going to ask you to hold on. And I also have a guest that we're going to be bringing on at the bottom of the hour. So, caller, you might be waiting a bit. If you want to call back after I have my guest on at the bottom of the hour, then I'll be opening up the phone lines again. So again, this is Elliott Serrano on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez here on WCPT. When we come back, what I'm going to do is we're going to do something a little bit new and different here. I'm actually going to bring on the host of another show that actually has had me on his show. We're going to be talking to Dennis Green of WRMN 1410 AM in Elgin. He has a show called A Political Talk Show, and he's seeing me as kind of one of these radio media freelancers. He's had me on his show to talk about different topics. WRMN are actually a bit of a conservative radio station. They have a lot of shows that they have on syndication that are conservative. Dennis, though, is very much, he's kind of like me. We're both sort of more on the liberal, more the progressive side, but we try to keep it balanced. And one of the things I really do like about talking with Dennis is he makes me think. He even has me questioning a lot of the things that I espouse. So when we come back from the break, we'll have that. So again, this is Elliott Serrano on WCPT AM 820, Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Weatherology Weather Center. Rain mixing with snow tonight with a low temperature of 28 degrees and northwest winds at up to 20 miles an hour. New Year's Day, Wednesday, snow early in the day, otherwise cloudy with a high temperature around 30. Thursday, chance of snow with a high temperature around 31. Friday, sunshine with a high of 24 degrees. Saturday, sunny with a high temperature of 23. Sunday, chance of snow and a high of 28. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 37.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Think Theory Radio.
I'm very privileged to have on a special guest, Tim Ains.
We put together a team of experienced investigators. There's certain things that happen to abductees that they all talk about. And people have seen stuff, things like missing time, or they might have marks on their body. And it's interesting when somebody in India and somebody in Des Plaines, Illinois, and somebody in Fiji all have the same mark.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820. Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
There's so much that goes on behind closed doors.
On WCPT 820.
We are Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez with special guest host Elliott Serrano, the Chicago's King of Geeks, the Chief Geek Officer for the Patti Vasquez Show, and I am also known on WRMN Radio as the L Train. And I am privileged right now to have one of the hosts from WRMN Radio. He is the host of A Political Talk Show, Dennis Green. And here we are. Dennis, am I reading you, buddy?
ZipRecruiter.com/free.
No, he's still on a break. Yeah. Of course. Well, that's fine. So anyway, WRMN Radio is more of a conservative radio station in Elgin, Illinois. Their signal doesn't quite reach the Chicago area. So on days when I'm out there, if you want to listen to me there, you kind of have to tune in on their app. They have an app just like CPT does. They have a YouTube page just like we do. Don't have Facebook though. This is something that they probably should work on. I think any of these when you're a smaller independent radio station, you have to use every media channel available to you. So it's been a matter of getting those things rolling. Plus, I'm a bit of a marketing nerd, and they've had me. I've been interning there in their sales department, and I've been learning a lot about how to sell ad time on the radio. But I've been trying to say, hey, we need to, you kind of need to do more of this, and this when it comes to the marketing of your content. So, anywho, and I want to again say the Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez is sponsored by Minocqua Brewing and Kids Above All. Tomorrow on Chu's Views, Richard Chu will be your guide for a look back at 2024 with some of his favorite interviews, including Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates, Tom Hartman, immigration attorney Kate Lincoln Finch, and more. If you miss it, the episode will be available on the Choose Views Full Episodes podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Choose Views is on weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. Central on WCPT 820. Also, from tomorrow from 2 to 5, tune in for a Best of Joan Esposito episode. Then Thursday, Turi Ryder will be in for Joan, and her guests will include Dan Mason, ex-radio manager and current career coach, who will talk about re-envisioning your talents and skills in the new year. Dr. Jessica Nuddick-Zitter, author of Extreme Measures and star of the Oscar-nominated documentary Extremis. She'll talk about her forthcoming documentary, The Chaplain and the Doctor, which addresses historic shortcomings of healthcare in minority communities. Fred Sau, Senior Policy Counsel at the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, will be on the show. And finally, Dr. L. David Stewart, Program Director at Territory, on their Creating Space art installation. And tomorrow during this time slot, tune in for a Best of Driving It Home episode. Patty will be back on Thursday, and her guests will include film critic Mike Crowley. Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez, weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Central on WCPT AM. And with all that housekeeping out of the way, I want to bring on board the host of A Political Podcast. He is Dennis Sonar Green of WRMN 1410 AM. How you doing, Sonar?
I'm doing great, L Train. How are you, sir? It's cool to be connecting these two studios together.
That is actually kind of cool. I mean, I know when we were talking about this, we were like, can we pull this off? Is it possible? And I do remember, and I got the idea from my friend Lawrence Holmes of The Score, where they would do that sort of thing with other sports radio stations in other cities. But I think this is the first time in Chicago where you've had two local radio stations hooking up and simulcasting at the same time. Mind you, we're both in slightly different markets. You're in the Fox River Valley, and WCPT is smack dab in the middle of Chicago. So this has been this is kind of cool to be able to do this sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, man, I can't take credit for it. It was, of course, Ben and Lady B that really did everything. You and I just got to do the easy part of buying some time until the connection was there. But I think 25 is going to be the year of the independent media journalist. I think with the TikTok ban that's coming through and the swell of political interest, I think the more that us independents can pull together and broadcast simultaneously and share our ideas, I think that's the best thing for America and get us on the right track.
That is at least until Elon Musk comes in and buys everybody up.
There's only so many platforms out there, man. There's just they've tried to make a couple of them, but they're there. I guess it really depends on who owns the platform. Is really if it's allowed to be considered espionage or not.
Oh God! Don't even get me started. We've talked about that on a political talk show. We also talked a little bit about the TikTok ban, which I know the president-elect right now is talking about asking the Supreme Court to hold off on the ban and then see if they can negotiate something that would be better off. I mean, is this really like again playing for political points with the populace?
I don't think so. There are 170 million American users of TikTok. And every time that I bring up that the clock is ticking on TikTok, my wife hits me. And so I've stopped bringing it up at the house, and I could only bring it up at the office, and here I am. But this is where I think this is another platform that's getting muted. Now, by all means, we can talk about the giving up of our personal information and everything else TikTok isn't doing anything else that any other American-owned, and honestly, what is American-owned in this global economy? Is it where the LLC is necessarily placed? Well, I mean, I thought there was a whole bunch of LLCs that are in some building in Cancun or somewhere offshore somewhere. So, I mean, what is really a American-owned business? Is it the customers, or is it the person who is at the very top, the CEO?
And anybody, for folks who, might be, suspect of this whole rationale, any app on your phone is giving data back to whoever it is that gave you the app. I mean, we have apps for shopping. I know I have a Jewel app and a Target app that I know it's collecting data on me. It's keeping track of all my shopping habits. It's keeping track of how much money I spend. It's keeping track of my location. That's all information that I know that company is collecting about me. That, yes, will ultimately get sold to someone else.
Exactly. And so this is where my big beef is with it, is who the middleman is who we're squabbling over with this. What I think this is I think this is an overreach for another platform to shut down free speech or to shut down independent journalism. If you look at the way that X was before it was X, if you look at the way that YouTube was before Viacom hit them from there, if you look at the way that the Gutenberg machines were printing everything before the Inquisition decided to smash everything, like, you know what I mean? Like, where are we going to see the next platform that people? I hope Blue Sky, that's now coming to its own, I hope doesn't end up in the same fate that most of these places have been.
I've got a Blue Sky account, and it's, after a while you get just so many accounts. It's a lot to keep track of. And I've been trying to work on Blue Sky, again, to get a sense of what the algorithm is like and what what are the levers you push and how do you post, what time? Because anyone who works in social media, if you're a social media manager, it takes you time to figure out, when does your content get the most engagement? At what time? What type of content? What is it that people are going to react to? And like, I'm looking at my own TikTok right here. It's this. I know some gal just popped up out of nowhere. I'm looking at my own TikTok here, and I was telling Lady V earlier before I came on, my TikTok has exploded right now. And there's stuff that I just posted this morning or last night when I went to bed that has gone viral. And I'm wondering if it's because TikTok is going, please, please, please don't let them pull the plug on me. Look at all this nice stuff I can give you.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially as a broadcaster. I've fought with Facebook for years on letting us be broadcasters. Just let us stream, let us do our shows, let us do things. But the algorithm pushes everything for wanting the selfie hold up that says, hey, I'm over at grandma's birthday party, you should come in, and not a full-fledged broadcast. Now, YouTube leaned a little bit into that, but I think TikTok is jumping into expanding more because these may be the death throes or the death rattle of TikTok. I hate to burst your bubble about everybody blowing up at TikTok, but, I mean, that may be why more things are going viral, because this is a final push of either people getting their last little bit of TikTok in or turning around and saying, hey, I'll just get inundated with things.
Talk them when you got them.
Oh, yeah. They're even doing a bit now where if you share TikTok with new folks, like if a new person downloads, TikTok will give you $60. If you share that same link with someone who's already on TikTok, TikTok will give you $10. So you can tell TikTok is trying desperately to get the public support, so that enough people will get up and go, no, you can't take it from us.
Well, here's where I like to stir the pot, Elliot, is this a large negotiating tactic? The same kind of things that Trump is doing right now with the tariffs or anything else, of just saying, look, I will just deploy the business nuclear option if you don't do what we specifically want you to do. But to continue to play that devil's advocate side of it, this happened under Biden's watch.
Well, we've had the debates about that. I mean, that whole thing started, it's been in for a while. Okay, so beyond TikTok, we've also had we had a conversation about AI. You, I know, have been a proponent of it in many cases. In my time over at WRMN, you've shown me some really, cool stuff that the AI can do, to help with certain things. I know there's some folks who are going to get really hot under the collar if you talk about an AI being used to do anything. What would you say to those folks?
I would say AI is like a tool, right? If I start waving a hammer in an inappropriate way, then I'm going to be making damage the way that a hammer would do. AI does different damage. AI is a different tool. So that was what our show was today. We moved into a Tech Tuesday type of mentality here, and that was what our AI was. So right now we live in what is called narrow intelligence. So it's artificial narrow intelligence. So Siri or Google or Alexa or any of these just assistants are really supposed to be for targeted individual things. So even some of the AI that I've shown you is stuff that I've had to make that's targeted. I have to make this type of creator or that type of creator. I can't just pull it into one giant AI that says, well, you know what, give me a recipe on this one, but then also give me a business plan over here. You have to narrowly bring down that AI if you really want to make it effective.
Oh, no. That seems like responsible AI. I don't know. And I really don't think... I mean, again, it's a Jurassic Park thing, man. It's like, hey, we got dinosaurs. We don't want to make just the little dinosaurs. We want to make the giant dinosaurs. We want to make the dinosaurs that will eat people, even though it's probably not a good idea that we do that.
Well, and you've said it before. There's been some AIs that we've, as far as the scientific sci-fi side of everything has gone, that there's been some AIs that were not necessarily the benevolent, let's just manage your crops type of Logan's Run type of AIs. It depends really on what their purpose has been.
Man, I saw Logan's Run. I know how that ends.
More human than human, if you will, with Logan's Run.
Yeah.
I know I don't want to spoil a movie that's been around for, oh my goodness, what is it, going on almost 40, 50 years now. But the robot that was performing the AI jobs, he said he was more human than human because he actually had a job that sustained life instead of just whatever pleasure dome that Logan's Run was putting together.
Ooh, that's also what the Blade Runner, but Rutger Hauer's creator, I can forget. I actually met the actor who played him at San Diego Comic-Con once. Just not to derail, as I tend to do.
Well, and then Rob Zombie too.
Yeah, Rob Zombie, right? But Tyrell's the creator of the replicants in Blade Runner. And he says that to Rutger Hauer's character, who's like one of the chief head replicants that Harrison Ford is hunting down. I remember meeting him, not Rutger Hauer, but the actor who played Tyrell, standing in a line getting a sandwich at San Diego Comic-Con. And I go, I know this guy from somewhere. And he kept looking at me and he goes, well, have you seen A Clockwork Orange? And I went, no, I'm sorry, I haven't seen that one. He thought that would be it.
Well, you haven't seen that one?
Yeah.
We got to discuss that.
I know, I do. And I haven't seen Dr. Strangelove either. I need to see that one as well. Those are two Stanley Kubrick movies I need to see.
Oh, good. Classic.
Right? But in any case, so he goes to me and goes, well, I was in Blade Runner. And I went, you had your head crushed by Rutger Hauer. I said that out loud to this man in line in front of a lot of people. So, needless to say, not my finest moment. Hey, speaking of AI and replicants and these creations that are supposed to do jobs for us, or heck, like let's say keep us company.
Yeah.
The little bitty robot that people were buying for their kids that is gonna die soon.
What's that? What's that going on?
Tamagotchi?
No, the one I forgot the name of it. It's like a little robot it was a little AI robot that had the kid that people were getting it for their kids, and it would talk to them and have conversations, and it had little expressions on its face, and the whole thing, I guess, the software was hosted in a cloud, so all the interactions and everything that went on with it had to be stored in a cloud, and now the company that put these robots together and sold them to all these kids after a few years is now saying they can no longer afford to host the cloud, and all these little robots are going to be inactive soon. So all over TikTok, you see kids crying because they know their friend is going to die soon.
That's terrible. That's like what Y2K was supposed to
be. We're all in the cloud. We're all going to die.
That's what I thought. Oh, my gosh, that's terrible. Like, is somebody just, like, not paying the internet bill for those servers? Like, what's happening?
It's like, oh, goodness, I had the story call up. Hold on, AI robot.
If anything was there for a Kickstarter, this is it. I mean, who needs health care? In Kickstarter, this is what Kickstarter was really made for, was to protect the children's robots.
But that's just the thing too. It's like these folks were getting these little companion robots for their kids. They had lessons, they had conversations. These kids were like, and again, they're young children who are kind of forming a bond with this AI companion.
Are they unplugging this thing, or is somebody just a jerk and was like, we got to wipe the whole thing?
No, they're saying
hold on a second. You
Has
just
it been
unplug
compromised?
it?
Yeah.
Has it been compromised by another government?
They're just saying they can't host the cloud anymore to keep all the information, the operating system on these little guys.
They should at least email the files out. Like, at least do something like that to at least get something. My goodness, that sounds terrible.
Moxie was the name of the little character. Moxie, the conversational learning robot. And yes, and I'm looking at it now. It reminds me a little bit of, there was an episode of Doctor Who where the thing spoke in emoji. The little robots had little emoji faces, and that's how they expressed themselves. This one has eyes that widen, and it looks like a cute little thing. There's another one here that looks like Herbie from the Fantastic Four.
It's got like little arms that come up and down and things.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible. I mean, but why wouldn't you be able to just make a copy? I get the whole serving and all of not being able to host it on the cloud, but you should at least be able to send out the files to everybody until, like, it's kind of like why Walt Disney froze himself. Until the technology's here to save this not in the cloud anymore. We have to take a copy of these robots.
Walt Disney. How much would people pay for a Walt Disney AI? Like, they took his brain and they essentially make it into like an interactive AI with his personality, all his memories, everything. Man,
Walt Disney, I think I can come up with a few better candidates, buddy.
Well, Disney fanatics, though. I mean, I could see that premiering at D23. They're like, now everyone, your very own Disney bot, Walt himself.
I've got a question for you. If you had to pick one AI to overrule the rest of humanity, which one would you pick?
The one from the Spike Jonze science fiction film starring Joaquin Phoenix. Her.
Oh, she? What was that? Samantha?
No, yeah, the one with Scarlett Johansson's voice. Mm-hmm. Oh, that one.
Yeah.
That AI can overrule me any day.
Looking for an ex machina situation.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah, but still, no, I don't want...
Ex machina bait.
Yeah, ex
Elliott.
machina, but I don't want freaking Oscar Isaac chasing me down a hallway. I just want... I want just to be able to talk to the AI, have her talk to me, tell me how smart I am, how handsome I am, how great my writing is, which is everything.
Here's your work order for the day.
Yeah.
Make sure you put your hard hat on for the mines. Because we need that lithium, baby.
Man, you brought me back to earth fast.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. We've got to hit a break on this side of the world, man. But I appreciate you taking the connection. That's really cool.
No, absolutely. And just real quick, we did get a text from the 630. Hey, Elliott, Happy New Year. You and your historical Fox Valley guest star sonar are sounding just great. Much love to you in 2025.
Oh, thank you very much, listeners over there. I think we should do some more things of independent connections like this.
We shall. Okay, I'll be seeing you soon, buddy.
Yeah, see you tonight.
Have a good show.
Thank you. You too.
And that was Dennis Sonar Green from WRMN Radio, the voice of Fox Valley station in Elgin, Illinois. Okay, we're going to take a break here and reset on opening the phone line, 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-WCPT. Thank you so much for holding out. I want to hear from you now. Hit me back after this break. We're driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Most of us try and get good sleep every night, but even with the best of intentions, we probably don't always succeed. Maybe it's work, maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's a sick kid. You make it to the weekend and you're wiped out. Time to play catch up. Now, people who do that, according to new research out of the UK, lower their risk of developing heart disease compared to people who just push through Saturdays and Sundays sleep deprived. Experts we talked to reminded us that poor sleep impacts a lot more than heart health. I sort of think of sleep as the third leg of a three-legged stool, just as important to your overall well-being as diet and exercise. You deserve to wake up every day feeling well-rested. For most people, that's going to mean 7 to 9 hours of quality, uninterrupted sleep every night. And if you're struggling to get that, it's important, and you should talk to your doctor about it. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-466-9625. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-466-9625.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
This is Elliott Serrano sitting in for Patti Vasquez, who is taking a night off for New Year's Eve preparations, celebrations, stuff like that. I, on the other hand, have no life, so I'm actually going to be hosting here until 7 o'clock, and then making my way out to the burbs to host yet another radio show. So if you're following me on social media, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Elliott Serrano. That's with 2 L's, 2 T's, and 2 R's. You can keep tabs on where I am. I'm pulling what's called the Tom Joyner, whereas Tom Joyner would host a show in Chicago in the mornings and then fly all the way to Dallas to host his second show in the afternoons. I'm actually going to be hosting 2 different shows within the city of Chicago. I think that's the first time. Mind you, independent radio. If you were with us earlier in the hour, we were talking to Dennis Green from WRMN 1410 in Elgin. We're both independent stations that are pooling our resources together to get our messages out. Before we hit this next break, let's talk to Beverly, who called in. Hi, Beverly. It's so nice to hear from you. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm just waiting here for my train to leave from Syracuse, New York to Chicago, Illinois.
Ah, that's right. Oh, yes. Yes. And then
taking the Lakeshore Limited.
Well, how long of a ride is that?
It's a 12-hour trip, but it's much more fun than the airplane. I think of flying as adversarial. I like the train.
A train? Do you have a sleeper car or anything like that? Or are you just going to be sitting in
No, that's that's more money than the airplane. No, I've just been coached, and I just hang out in the club car and have fun with people.
That sounds nice. I would like to do that. I've been wanting to do one of those West Coast trains where it has the glass top, and then you can see the mountains, as they're going through the mountains and all that.
Yeah, you got to do that. That's fun.
Any other plans for the holiday? No, go on, please.
Well, I have a family party tomorrow that I'm going to make out in Aurora, but I wanted to ask you, looking forward into 2025, what is your biggest concern about the power change and what's going to be happening? How much of Project 2025 realistically is going to be implemented? Do you see horrors ahead?
Oh man. Okay, so here's the thing, and here's my. This is my curse, okay? my curse is whenever I think things, I go like, I said this about the first time Trump was in office. I thought, it's not going to be that bad. Oh, my God, was it bad.
It was terrible.
Right? It was worse than I could imagine. I was like, good God,
exactly.
This is I had no idea. I mean, at one point I even said, you know what, it'll be 4 years of Trump doing The Apprentice, and it at least will be entertaining. I had no idea how much damage that man could do in office. So that's the first thing.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to tell myself this time around, okay, it can't be as bad as last time because people will know what to expect. But the Democrats are just so bumbling about everything right now. I have no faith that they would know how to.
We're like a turtle on its back.
Yes,
is what we are. I feel like we're a turtle on its back.
So, but one thing I am saying to myself is the truth is though he's got 18 months. That's how much he's got. He's got until the midterms, the next midterms, to really do everything. And the truth, also the other thing is a president has 100 days when they first get into office to really make any sort of significant change. So we'll see what happens over the next 3 months.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, for all I know, but for all I know, in the next 3 months, we could be again, huddled in our bunkers, with the AI hunting us down like in the Terminator, and because Trump decided, hey, what does that button do? And
yeah, right.
I'd be like, what, dude? You're killing me. All right.
And that Holman guy, he's like the original Mr. Scrooge. I don't think anybody could reach him. It's unbelievable.
I will say though, what is entertaining right now is seeing how the MAGA base are having it out with Elon Musk and some of the folks in the Trump administration, which they're like, you weren't paying attention, man. We don't want foreigners coming in here and taking our jobs. And Elon's saying, hey, you're saying, hey, foreigners are the ones who are going to take your jobs. So, anywho, well, Beverly, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for being a follower. Thank you for also commenting on my Facebook. I do appreciate that. I appreciate your support.
Okay, terrific. Enjoy your New Year's.
Hey, have a safe trip, and you do the same. All right. We have another caller on the line. No, we have to. I have to take a break. I'm sorry. So, caller number from the 415. I see you on the screen. I'm going to come back to you right after the break. So don't go away. This is Elliott Serrano sitting in for Patti Vasquez on Driving It Home on WCPT 820 AM.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Whether you get pulled over or get into a crash, drinking and driving will change your whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Paris among the latest welcoming in the new year. Julie Walker on preparations in New York City.
The giant crystal ball that drops in Times Square is ready to usher in the new year after a test run. Happy New Year! The almost 6-ton ball with more than 2,600 crystal triangles will light up the night sky, and Times Square Alliance President Tom Harris says they're not just saying goodbye to 2024.
We're going to be retiring it after this year, and we look forward to a brand new ball in 2025.
The old New Year's Eve ball will be put on display at One Times Square, and the 2025 ball
will have more bells and whistles.
A New Year's Eve ball has dropped in Times Square for nearly 120 years. Julie Walker, New York.
New York's charging drivers a fee to enter the center of Manhattan starting Sunday. Meantime, Ed Donahue reports much of Puerto Rico will start 2025 with no power.
Luma Energy says nearly 90% of its 1.4 million clients across Puerto Rico are in the dark, likely caused by a failure of an underground power line. Some clients had their power restored, including hospitals and Puerto Rico's water and sewer company. The San Juan airport remains open. These types of outages have been blamed on a crumbling power grid damaged by Category 4 Hurricane Maria in 2017. The White House says President Biden was briefed on the outage, and Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm spoke with Puerto Rico's governor and, at the president's direction, offered federal assistance to speed the restoration of power. Municipal worker Julio Cordova says he had to get dressed by the light of his cell phone and plans to buy candles. I'm Ed Donahue.
The Military Appeals Court has ruled against Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's effort to throw out plea deals for the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks and 2 others. And police in London are searching for a thief who swiped $13 million in jewels, handbags, and cash from a mansion near Regent's Park. This is AP News. The college football playoff.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Weatherology Weather Center. Rain mixing with snow tonight with a low temperature of 28 degrees and northwest winds at up to 20 miles an hour. New Year's Day, Wednesday, snow early in the day, otherwise cloudy with a high temperature around 30. Thursday, chance of snow with a high temperature around 31. Friday, sunshine with a high of 24 degrees. Saturday, sunny with a high temperature of 23. Sunday, chance of snow and a high of 28. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 37.
Are you excited about being a new grandmother?
Of course I am. A little intimidated, too.
Why?
Taking care of a baby today is so different than when I had you.
But, Mom, you did great with me.
Thanks, son. But I put you on your stomach to sleep.
Right. But now we know that babies should always be placed on their backs to sleep, for naps and at night, to reduce the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS.
You also slept with blankets and toys in your crib.
True. But now we know to keep everything out of the crib except for my sweet baby girl. No blankets, pillows, or other soft or loose items.
Daddy's going to teach Nana all the ways to keep you safe while you sleep. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
For more tips on safe sleep for babies, visit safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. That's safetosleep.nichd.nih.gov. Sponsored by the Eunice Kennedy Shriver National Institute of Child Health and Human Development.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Yeah, we're driving it home with Patti Vasquez and special guest host Elliott Serrano. the Chief Geek Officer for the Patti Vasquez Show, as well as Chicago's King of Geeks. Follow me on TikTok. Go to Chicago King of Geeks. King of Geeks Chicago on TikTok, and see the post that I put up there last night. That has blown up. TikTok is in its final throes. It knows it's going to be gone from our shores soon. So TikTok is out there making everyone go viral. Watch how I've gone viral there. I also want to give a shout out to our friends in Minnesota at KTNF AM 950. Welcome, Minnesota. Our friends up north. I mean, I think the Minnesota is Canada South. You know, I guess y'all kind of like, I don't mean to say y'all in a derogatory term. Trust me, I love Minnesota. I've been there, although it gets so blessed cold up there. Way colder than Chicago. So, hey, KTNF AM 950, thanks so much for joining us here. And for those listening to us on WCPT 820 on the Heartland Signal. And I think that's how our next caller, David from San Francisco, is listening to Drive It Home. David, it's so nice to hear from you. You called in when I was in the studio last week.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Elliott. And actually, I'm not getting it on the Heartland Signal. I'm seeing you on Facebook. But dumb luck, I caught you, so I'm waving.
Hey, I'm waving right back at you. Thank you.
Good deal. And by the way, Minnesota, it gets cold, but it also got, I think one of my worst sunburns was in the summer I spent up there. So they get ungodly hot, sitting in a rowboat fishing up there in White Bear Lake. I got so cooked.
Still sounds like fun. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the reason I called, I don't know if you've heard Donald Trump's latest bad idea, and it's probably from Peter Thiel or Elon Musk or somebody or another, because Donald Trump wants to create a strategic reserve of Bitcoin, and he wants to take America. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness. Oh, God. Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
So what makes it worse is he wants to take American gold, what little gold we have in Fort Knox, apparently. He wants to use it to buy Bitcoin. And he wants to do it on a continuous plan for a number of years. And then he wants to pay off the national debt by doing that. So you talk about a fly-by-night scheme that is so obvious, but it's also going to create a civil war between the MAGA crowd, because if you listen to hate radio like I do, they've always got their gold broker buddies who are, buy gold, the world is going to collapse, you better have your gold. And then he's going to pit them against the Bitcoin con artists who are creating fake numbers and driving it into the sky. So it gives a good opportunity. I don't know that you're as old as I am. I'm a baby boomer, but we've gone through Ronald Reagan. We went through Gerald Ford too with his economic collapse. We went through Daddy Bush. We went through Junior Bush, and we went through Trump. And they always crushed the economy and forced people to come up with local currencies. And if you're a fan of Howard Zinn pushed local currencies to be able to tide yourself over during, these economic crash times. Ralph Nader did too, or does still. And so the whole idea of being able to come up with a local currency so you can get your back porch painted or your garden tilled or, all of the little jobs that could be done in a community without needing Paris or London involved, come up with a local currency for Chicago.
They have their way. Not only are we talking about an oligarchy, but they want to drive us back into a feudal state where then the peasants are going to have to. The way we get by is by barter. Okay, so if you have eggs and tomatoes, I will fix your roof for you for that sort of thing,
Right.
because it's going to be like there's going to be no. They're taking everything else from us. They're sucking up all the money and keeping it up at the top. We don't have enough to cover our own expenses. And yes, you're right. To me, the idea of Bitcoin again. I don't know because people are so mystified by Bitcoin and how it works. And here, I'm going to tell folks, this is what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin takes the idea of money, okay? Not actual money. It takes the idea of money and it tries to weave that, takes the electric gossamer, and tries to weave it into something that has value. The problem is that you take real value, as you're saying, let's say you take your real money and you buy Bitcoin. The problem with taking your real money and buying Bitcoin with it is it can disappear. It can be gone. Like your Bitcoin can have absolutely no value after you buy it, and you have absolutely no control over it because there's absolutely no regulation of it. That happened with the Haktua girl. Had her own, she got some tech bros put her name on some Bitcoin, and people put their entire life savings into it. And what did they find? They lost money on that Bitcoin quicker than on the stock market. And that's essentially giving people an idea that they're going to get rich when in reality all they're doing is giving their money away.
Yeah, and it's strange. There's an old biblical character, I guess from the Old Testament, Esau, who gives up his birthright for a bowl of beans.
For a bowl of beans or soup? I forgot, or stew. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna go. I remember Esau. Yeah, and he had to put the fake. The brother Esau sold it to his brother who had to put the fake fur on his arm or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we've got the MAGA religious crowd, keep Esau at the tip of your tongue, because this idea of giving up gold for a fake currency, we're not going to be able to get anything done. Like, for example, I'm a big environmentalist, and to be able to actually clean up the hazardous waste, or to clean up the oceans, clean up the rivers, clean up the skies, we're going to need some kind of transaction to be able to do it. And if these old boys steal all the money and hoard all the money and then pretend that there's not a problem, that's not going to get anything done. So today, I guess you're the 15th call I've done on this subject today, and almost to a call, whether it's a right-wing show or left, every one of them spots the obvious con of it all. Hey, well, Happy New Year, Chicago.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much for calling in, and a Happy New Year to you, too. We appreciate the call. It's always nice to hear a friendly voice whenever I sit in this chair on my own. All right, we got another break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you, give you some more stories from 2024, some of the things I've been thinking about. Also, tell me what plans do you have for the new year? Hit me up at 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-WCPT. Call or text. We'll be right back.
When I first had my baby, I'd get comments all the time about how happy I must be. I remember thinking, I want to be happy. Why don't I feel that way? It was hard to admit that, even to my doctor. But I'm glad I did. She told me it was postpartum depression, and that is very treatable. These days, things are feeling good, and we're both happier about that. Right, little man? I'll take that as a yes.
Mental health care is working for Simone. See what it can do for you at mentalhealthcareworks.org. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Is credit card or other debt making it difficult to pay your rent or mortgage? Home insecurity is often the unintended consequence of an inability to pay mounting credit card debt, student loans, or medical debt. But by working with a nonprofit credit counselor, you can avoid or reduce the risk of eviction or foreclosure while tackling debt for good. For more information about how nonprofit credit counseling can help, visit nfcc.org. Made possible in part by the nonprofit Wells Fargo Foundation.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
Mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
We're driving it home with Patti Vasquez, but actually with guest host Elliott Serrano, the chief geek officer of the Patti Vasquez Show, as well as Chicago's King of Geeks. You can follow me on social media at Elliott Serrano. That's with 2 L's, 2 T's, and 2 R's. Follow me on TikTok, King of Geeks Chicago, where you can see how I've recently gone viral with the image. I won't tell you what the image is. All I know is I saw it. It spoke to me. I made a TikTok post out of it, and apparently many people in this country agree. So, boom, it has taken off. It's my most popular TikTok post ever, which is nice knowing that, by, the middle of January, TikTok will be gone. So at least I had a little fun while it lasted. Just so you know that Driving It Home does have 2 new podcasts. It's Driving It Home full episodes and Driving It Home featured interviews. You can subscribe to one or both. The podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon. Just search for Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez or get the links on the Driving It Home show page by visiting heartlandsignal.com and clicking on Patti's picture. On that page, you can also find a rundown of her guests each week for each day this week and links to listen again or watch the YouTube video stream. That's how I keep track of all the shows I've done. If you just do a keyword search, Elliott Serrano, you'll see the times I've either been in studio or I have hosted. And if you're listening live, you want to listen live to Driving It Home weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. at 8:20 a.m. on TuneIn from heartlandsignal.com or watch the live video stream on WCPT's Facebook or YouTube pages. Yes, YouTube! You can, if you have a smart TV, you can subscribe to the Patti Vasquez Show page and the WCPT YouTube channel. And then every time a new show comes up, it'll give you a notification, and you can watch it on your smart TV or listen to it on your smart speaker. Just tell Alexa or Siri or Google play Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez or play WCPT 820 AM. Boom, then you'll get it. Find us now at youtube.com/@Chicago's WCPT 820. One word, Chicago's WCPT 820. And when you're there, click on the live tab. And then, of course, if you haven't already, you can follow Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads at Heartland Signal, one word. And be sure to check heartlandsignal.com for daily updates. Look at that. I did all the live reads. This has got, folks, we're witnessing history today. First, that I am going to have one of the longest nights ever in Chicago radio tonight. After I leave the studio, I'm going to be going to another studio and hosting a New Year's Eve show from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. And this is the first time I've hosted Patti's show. I'm looking at the camera here, and I've done all the live reads. Oh, man. This is real live radio. This is not canned. This is not pre-recorded. This is not rehearsed. It is what it is. And again, since you're here, and I already gave you one shout out, but I think you deserve another. My friends in Minnesota at KTNF AM 950, thank you so much for listening here to Driving Home with Patti Vasquez. The text line, the text line has been kind of been clicking in front of me as I was talking to folks, and during the commercial break, let me look here. Someone said something really interesting. From the 708, I think something fishy was going on about the election. Trump said something prior to the election that he didn't need to win the election to take power. I do wonder if someone was able to alter things or if he counted on votes not being counted in certain areas. I know that is a thing that's going around. There are folks thinking about, was there some hanky-panky with the voting machines? Much like, you had the Trump supporter saying that when he lost to Biden, Mike Liddell and all the crazies on the right were saying these things. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to chalk it up to plain old apathy on the left. I'm sorry. The problem with us on the left, and this is something that Patty and I have said from time and time again, Republicans say fall in line. Democrats, progressives, we have to fall in love. We are victims of our own intolerance for difference of opinion, even on the left. That we need the person that we're going to vote for to be, idealistically, or have a purity and idealism, that we have to agree with every single thing that particular candidate represents for us to vote for them. And I know the big wedge issue that happened, for this past election was Gaza, and that there were a lot of younger progressives who held the Biden administration accountable, or held them responsible for what they said was, they saying that Biden is responsible for arming Israel, which then led to the genocide of the Palestinian people. And you saw that going around. I still see that on social media. I see young progressives calling him Genocide Joe. And then the right was wonderful in transitioning, transferring that thing over to Kamala Harris, saying, well, if Joe Biden is in favor of the bombing and all that of Gaza and arming the Israelis, so that happens, then, of course, Kamala Harris should also be held responsible, forgetting that the vice president has no such power. And even Kamala Harris came out and said, I will do something to address the things that are going on in Gaza. But, it didn't matter at that point. Just like the first time around when she was running for the Democratic nomination back in 2020 among a very wide, campaign field, a white candidate field, there was the meme that was going around was Kamala is a cop. So, no, I don't think there was any hanky-panky done with that. It was just, again, intolerance of difference of opinion, I'm afraid. And don't get me wrong, do not misinterpret this as me endorsing what's happening in Gaza. I think what's happening in Gaza is horrendous, and I do hold Netanyahu and his party, the Israeli parliament, responsible for that. And you can support Israel and also support the Palestinians. And when folks come out and say, well, if you criticize Israel, that's anti-Semitic. No. Israel does not represent all Jewish people. In fact, there are many Jewish people who don't agree with what's happening on in Gaza. There are many Jewish people who say that this sort of thing needs to stop as well. But the hardliners on the right, on the parliament, in the Israeli government, are having their way right now, and that's what happens when you let hardliners have their way. It's going to happen here too. Mark texted in earlier, and he said a couple great things as I was talking to folks. He says, Elliott, we miss Patty, but you are the perfect guy to host tonight. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. We're lucky to have a live radio tonight. That's true. A lot of folks are doing pre-recorded stuff. You're not getting live. You're getting pre-recorded to go on in the background because, a lot of us, we're not expecting you to really listen. You might be. But let's be honest. I know Christmas is one thing. I know when Christmas comes around, I like to have just Christmas music playing in the background. I don't necessarily need to have talk radio going on, or there'll be sports. Everyone's watching football and stuff. That happened this past Christmas. You had a couple NFL games. Of course, the NBA was doing their thing. I can get that. But New Year's is different, and especially if you're kind of you're on your own, and New Year's is treated, a little bit differently. There are a lot of folks who got to work tonight. It's not like everyone gets New Year's Eve off. Heck, my mail got delivered today. And there are people who are working at the stores, and you know what? And the place is going to be open tomorrow as well. The New Year's is just like a regular sort of day, not necessarily a holiday. So you want to have live radio. You want to have conversation. You want to have someone there to kind of like, engage you and get you going, because you're thinking, oh, this is lame. I just couldn't stay home all day, which is why I signed up for this ridiculously long night of radio. Although I was supposed to be spending the evening with Mandy, my special someone. I told her I'd say that. Mandy, my special someone, she doesn't always listen to me when I'm on 820 because she says I talk too much politics. She can't handle political talk. Although when I talk the geeky stuff, too, she's like, whatever. Because back to this. So then Mark says, please get into the geek and entertainment stuff tonight, which Mandy will also ignore. Do you watch any of the sci-fi shows on Apple TV? Are you excited for Severance to be coming back? Why, yes. What about the sci-fi shows on TV? Right now I am watching Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars series on Disney Plus, so I watched the first episode of Skeleton Crew and I was like, this isn't for me. This is like a little kid show. This just seems kind of silly. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't like it was bad. I'm just going, this skews really young for like little kids to watch this show, and it's not hitting me. But I kept watching because I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'll watch Star Wars. And as it went on, I'm going, oh no, this is actually a really good show. This is a fun little show. I love what they're doing with this. It's like essentially, what if, if you were a little kid, all of us who grew up on Star Wars, we wanted to imagine ourselves in that world. We wanted to imagine having an adventure in the Star Wars universe. So the guys who created Skeleton Crew said, hey, let's actually do that. Let's take some kids who grew up in, in fairly mundane backgrounds. They literally live like in the suburbs of the Star Wars galaxy, and they have an adventure in the Star Wars universe, and kind of like a pirate adventure. And it's been a lot of fun. I have really been enjoying it. So I definitely recommend that. And Severance, yes. That one's a little different, though. Severance, whereas Star Wars is kind of fun and cheerful, Severance is heavy. It will stress you out if you're that type of person who gets anxiety. Severance is going to do it to you, but it's a good kind of anxiety. And the cliffhanger from last season, I can't wait to see how it's resolved coming up. All right, I got another break here. When we come back, I want to hear your calls. 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Call in and help me drive this one home with Patti Vasquez on AM 820.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Weatherology Weather Center. Rain mixing with snow tonight with a low temperature of 28 degrees and northwest winds at up to 20 miles an hour. New Year's Day, Wednesday, snow early in the day, otherwise cloudy with a high temperature around 30. Thursday, chance of snow with a high temperature around 31. Friday, sunshine with a high of 24 degrees. Saturday, sunny with a high temperature of 23. Sunday, chance of snow and a high of 28. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 37.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit thetummywhisperer.com. That number is 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better. The Tummy Whisperer.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. Millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
There's so much that goes on behind closed doors.
On WCPT 820.
We are driving it home with Patti Vasquez, but actually this is not Patti Vasquez. This is Elliott Serrano, the Chief Geek Officer for the Patti Vasquez Show, as well as Chicago's King of Geeks. You can follow me on social media at Elliott Serrano with 2 L's, 2 T's, and 2 R's. Facebook, Instagram, Threads. Really, Instagram is my most active channel, so you'll see me taking pictures everywhere I am there, as well as sharing memes that I create and the like. You can also follow me on TikTok. While TikTok is still there, while it still exists here in the United States, go to King of Geeks Chicago. You can see me there, and you can see the social media post I put up that has gone viral. It has gone boom. All right. Wait. Oh, and speaking of, I've had my friend George Brower on Threads reply. He goes, I just tuned in and heard you talking about, yet again, thinking the next 4 years can't be as bad as we think. I would like to be right, but all common sense is against that. And I think that's why the post I put on TikTok has blown up. We have such an impending sense of doom coming. There are so many people who are afraid that it's going to be so bad, and it's oh my goodness, it's going to be so bad. It's going to be so, but here's the thing, it's going to be MAGA. Okay. And this is the thing too. And I already have this. I get that on my social media too. I get the MAGAs who go on there, you liberals, you need to stop crying. Trump is your, back to the baloney from the last time where they're crying, Trump is your president. Oh, deal with it. Oh, liberal tears, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You know what? At this point, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not even going to complain about that anymore, because and this is a point I meant to bring up when our texter talked about the issue of Trump not seeming to care so much about people voting, or like the voting didn't matter as much. And at one point he said, you know what, just vote for me this time. You won't have to vote anymore. And people thought it's him he's going to put himself in office like permanently. And I don't think it was even that. It was just the whole Trump saying, look, just get me into the president's chair one more time, and then I'm never going to ask for anything ever again. And it was a gambit he played. He was at the blackjack table. The House was showing two kings, and he had he had an ace, and he said hit me, and he got the jack, and he hit blackjack just then, and it's like boom, he got it. And you know what? I mean, I know I can be angry about it, I can be salty about it, I can be petty about it, but I can be like, you know what? Hey, it worked. It worked. He took the darkest campaign in modern history. I'm going to say modern history because, we tend to forget about how presidential campaigns were before social media, before even, newspapers were as big as we're talking about, like during wartime, pre-war, heck, during, the time of Lincoln in the Industrial Revolution, all these things. It got pretty bad then, too. It was pretty bad. But it seems like the immediacy of social media makes it seem like this is the worst ever. Fine. Trump played dark. He went dark, and he won. And you can go, oh, they did something. No, nothing happened to the machines. There was no hanky-panky, no funny business. We kept saying that you can trust elections. We can say that these machines are safe, that they're secure. If we're going to say that when our guy wins, you got to say it when their guy wins. And that's exactly what happened. It all came down to us, the people. And Trump played on that. He played it dark. He got it. Now he doesn't care. He gets 4 more years of the presidency. He gets, let's keep track of how many times he goes to golf, which is what he did all the time the first time he was in office. Let's see how many months or weeks or whatever he actually spends in the White House, as opposed to what he's called the White House, the Florida White House, Mar-a-Lago. He's always going to be in Mar-a-Lago. I can only imagine how much the right would have whined and complained, bitched and moaned if, let's say, Joe Biden decided to stay in Pennsylvania in his mansion, like in his home in Pennsylvania the whole time he was president. Oh, the hue and cry and the rending of the garments that would have occurred on the right if that happened. But no, it's your guy. He can do whatever he wants. Hey, guess what? Fine. Good for you. Bravo. You got your guy. But this time around, Trump doesn't care about MAGA. Doesn't. You folks who are of who need government assistance, you folks who need the support of others, taxpayers' dollars, guess what? Not going to be getting it. A lot of that's going to get taken away. But that's what you voted for. That's what you wanted. It astounds me when you hear about people, the government, it happens every time down in Florida. Whenever there's a hurricane or something and people are, getting hit, and the insurance companies are they sure aren't helping people down there. They're not insuring homes. They're not paying for any sort of settlements and helping people get their homes back. They're like, well, now we need the government to come in and step in. So when you need those government dollars to come in and help you rebuild your home, you love it. The rest of the year, you're like, you know what? Stay out of my life. I don't want the government doing it. I don't want to pay income taxes. I don't want to pay this or that. But the moment you need government support, you're like all over that. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And if you don't, it's like, well, the government doesn't want to help me. Government doesn't want to do anything for us. Hey, folks, it's one or the other. Take one or the other. It's mathematically, it's an economic fact. Red states, the states that talk the most about not wanting the government in their lives, the red states get more money per capita, more money from the federal government than blue states. In fact, blue states have to have greater GDP. We have to create more money. We have to generate more income tax for the federal government to be able to supply that money to the the red states. So blue states are like taking care of red states left and right. And then y'all get salty when we say, hey, let's try to figure out a way to make this fair for everyone. I don't get it. I really don't, and but again, it's because, well, we want to own the libs and, you're just mad because your guy lost and our guy won. And wait a minute. Didn't everyone complain that the reason we wanted Biden out of office is because eggs cost too much and gas costs too much, and the president has to be able to do something about that, right? And that's all I kept hearing the day after the election. Oh, yeah, well, what happened here was that, the president needs to be able to control prices, and people aren't happy with the price of things, and inflation's too high. And then the moment Trump gets in office, the moment Trump gets he wins, the presidency, he goes, well, you know what? It's not that easy to bring prices down. Once they're up, it's hard to bring them down. And what am I hearing now from MAGA? Oh, well, it's just hard to be able to go in and change the prices and, bring prices down. It was never about prices. It was never about the price of eggs. It was never about the gasoline. It was that you wanted your guy. You wanted your guy. And you wanted your guy because your guy reflects how you feel about your fellow man. Let's be honest here. Let's be real. As we go into 2025, all right, we're going to be going into some dark times, okay? They're going to be dark. And there's going to come a time when we as Americans are going to have to make a choice whether we want to continue to support those who are so obviously lying to us and so obviously running a scam and a game on us. You know, as I say, Donald Trump is like the Vince McMahon of presidential politics. I mean, the guy, true story, there was a segment on WWE where Vince McMahon got into a limousine and the limousine exploded, and making people think that Vince McMahon, quote unquote, died. He was killed in that explosion. I mean, it was television. You know, WWE wrestling is kind of like a soap opera. Donald Trump actually thought that was real. He actually thought Vince McMahon was killed in that explosion. How do I know this? Paul Levesque, Triple H from the WWE, actually told that story. He goes, yeah, I was talking to Trump. Trump thought it was real. That is the guy we elected our president. That is the guy. How many security breaches are going to happen due to him? How many troop movements is he going to reveal? When's the next time he's going to announce on television that we have submarines off the coast of a foreign adversary? When is he going to reveal the status of an Israeli asset to the Russian, ambassador, thus making it the Israelis had to pull that asset out real quick, or otherwise, that asset was going to get cacked. How many times is he going to come out and say, hey, we have this weaponry that the Pentagon's been denying this whole time, but guess what? I'm going to tell you. And the thing that drives me nuts is that with all this stuff that Trump decided to declassify the last time he was president, he never came out and told us about Area 51. I want to know about the aliens, darn it. Did we really have aliens in Area 51? Where are they being hidden? Tell me. I want to know. Oh, good golly. Oh, yeah. Look at that. I did do all the reads. I don't need to do this again. At any point, things are going to get really dark. I'm trying to have a sense of humor about this, but I have a feeling 2025 is going to be a dark, dark ride. Folks, we're going to need to hold on. We're going to have to hold on for 18 months. 18 months when Trump's in the driver's seat and the Republicans have the House and the Senate. 18 months for them to get agendas through, whether it's Project 2025 or any other baloney thing that they're going to do to pretty much fleece the American public. That's what's going to happen. MAGA, you're getting us all fleeced, and not just MAGA. I mean, I can put the blame on MAGA, but the truth is, I blame you, progressive, who decided you couldn't vote for Harris, who couldn't vote for a woman, who couldn't vote for a black woman. I blame you too. So anyway, man, I did not mean to bring it to this kind of an end. All right, I'm going to take a break and try to collect myself. And if you want to call to see me off onto a new year, I'd love to hear from you. This is Elliott Serrano, driving it home on this dark, dark ride. WCPT, 8:20 a.m.
Choose Views with Richard Chew.
The badassery in us has to come out. It just does. Shake off the fear, shake off the worry, and be ready to do something, like Mrs. Obama said. Now we really have to do something. And the number one thing is connect with each other and be strong and support those who we care about and make sure that we are moving forward and protecting this process.
Richard Chew, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
She was 5.
I saw her at 73.
Nobody else had concerns.
She wasn't participating and slept mostly.
Her mom listened to her gut and brought her in.
They assumed the reason was her dementia.
Mom was right. Her daughter couldn't hear high frequencies.
Instead, it was a profound hearing loss.
And after helping her, educationally, she just took off.
She's participating in life again.
Find an ASHA certified audiologist today at asha.org/public. Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
We're driving it home with Patti Vasquez and special guest host Elliott Serrano, Chicago's King of Geeks, the chief geek officer for the Patti Vasquez Show. And for the last 10 minutes, utter bummer. I've been the Lord of Bumsville. Sorry. And then during the break, Lady V and I are having a little discussion about these things, and I'll tell you, it kind of it disappoints me, really. It makes me sad that things are, I mean, Lady B, I'm not going to make you come on air, don't worry, but the Lady B is telling me about, the struggle that a lot of folks are that they're experiencing now. Let's face it, if you're a minority, you've been having this struggle for a while. If you're a person of color, you've had this struggle for a while. If you're a black person, a black woman, you've been having this struggle for a while. And I know there are a lot of folks, especially black women, who are saying, hey, welcome to the struggle. Hey, now you know what we've been dealing with for generations, not just now, but generations. And a lot of us are,